Shalom, everyone, from Jerusalem. We are in the final days of the counting of the Omer, as we are counting up to the great and glorious day of Shavuos, Zaman Matan Torah, the day that God gave us the Ten Commandments and began the process of Matan Torah. Obviously, the Torah envisions the counting of the Omer as a preparation for Matan Torah, and in a sense, what it does is it links the holiday of Pesach, which is the season of freedom, with the holiday of Shavuos, that is the season of Torah. In fact, the Ramban has a very striking insight that all of the days of the Omer might be regarded as a long Chol HaMoed, linking together the two holidays. So rather than look at Pesach as one holiday and Shavuos as another holiday, they are in fact one Yom Tov, because it is only Matan Torah that gives meaning to freedom. When freedom is not linked to responsibility and commitment, not only is it worthless, it actually becomes destructive. And that is why the Mishnaic term for the holiday of Shavuot is not Shavuos, but it's Atzeres. When it says Atzeres in the Mishnah, it does not mean Shmini Atzeres. It means the holiday of Shavuos. Now, the word Atzeres actually means conclusion. Atzeres is the conclusion of Pesach. If I may quote a secular source, Erich Fromm, who happened to be Jewish, although he was not observant, and he was a disciple of Sigmund Freud, who also happened to be Jewish and not observant. Erich Fromm said, "We make a tremendous mistake when we define freedom as freedom from something, whether it's slavery or persecution or poverty. Freedom from something is only a negative. You're free from that which would hurt you. But freedom has to be towards something, towards a goal, towards a purpose, towards something that gives meaning to your life. A Pesach without a Shavuos has no value whatsoever, and it's even destructive." Our sages pointed this out a long time ago. Our sages pointed out that the korban that is brought, the grain offering that is brought on Pesach, is the Omer, which was barley. Barley, at least before cholent was invented, tended to be animal fodder. On Shavuos, the grain offering that we bring are shtei halechem, 2 loaves of wheat bread. So Pesach, the food is animal. Shavuos, the food is human, because moving from freedom to the commitment of Torah is moving from animal liberation to true human dignity. You know, Chazal say, no one is a ben choren, no one is free, unless they learn and accept the Torah in their lives. Now, people might ask, it seems the opposite. If I don't have a Torah, I can do what I want, I'm free. But if I may quote our own beloved Rosh Yeshiva, Rav Nata Schiller, may he be well, he once pointed out that, you know, in Judaism, we place a very great emphasis on bechira, free will. Because free will is the predicate of reward. How could you be rewarded for good if God pre-programmed you to be good? And how could you be punished for evil if God pre-programmed you to be evil? So by definition, any system of reward and punishment, any system of accountability and approbation, presupposes that the human being has the autonomy of making choices. So if you ask most people, what does it mean to have free will? They're going to say, oh, I can do whatever I want. Rev Schiller points out, with a great deal of insight, that true freedom is not doing what you want. It's doing things that you'd rather not do because they're the right thing to do, or not doing things that you would rather do because it's better not to do them. Freedom is the override over my animal passions and my instincts. Freedom is the ability to say no when I would rather say yes. And freedom is the ability to say yes when I would rather say no. So when a person is a slave to whatever mood they have at the moment, to whatever desire they have, whether it's for money or for drugs or for alcohol or workaholism or whatever it would be, that is not freedom. That is a slavery to the animal component of ourselves. It is precisely in our submission to God that we achieve freedom and liberation. And thus, Pesach and Shavuos are not separate holidays. It is Shavuos that gives meaning to Pesach, and that is why we link the two holidays by the ceremony of counting of the Omer. There is no freedom without Torah. It is Torah that enables and ennobles the concept of freedom. Based on this idea, it would appear that one of the things we focus on during the counting of the Omer is to become more committed to God's Torah, more passionate in its learning, to daven with more kavanah, to be more careful in mitzvos, to be more meticulous in halacha, to become, if I could use the Yiddish phrase, a frummer person, a more religious person, a more godly person, a person whose connection to the Torah is suffused with passion, geschmack, and excitement. Intrinsically, this period of the Omer is not a sad period. As the Sefer HaChinuch points out, it should actually be joyous. We're looking forward to Matan Torah. And yet we know in the course of years, the counting of the Omer period got connected to certain minhagim, certain customs of avelus, of mourning, not getting married, not cutting our hair, not listening to music, etc. Why would a happy period become somewhat of a sad period? And the reason that the Gaonim give is because Rabbi Akiva, who had 24,000 students, the largest yeshiva in the world today only has 8,000 students, whether it's Lakewood or Mir in Yerushalayim. This is 3 times more than the largest yeshiva today. Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, which he attained after 24 years of struggle and suffering. He and his Rebbetzin, they were separated in order that he would become the greatest sage of Israel. But Rabbi Akiva lost all 24,000 of those students between Pesach and Shavuos. And therefore, to this very day, during the Omer period, there are different customs, exactly which days. We mourn the deaths of the students of Rabbi Akiva. Now, one could raise a question. Yes, 24,000 students dying is an awful tragedy. But unfortunately, we've had worse. We've had Holocaust. We had Crusades. More than that were wiped out. Why would we still be focused and fixated on the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva every single year? And the answer is, it's not about mourning them. It's not about grieving for them. It's about thinking about the reason that they died. The Gemara in Yevamos says that the medical reason they died was a plague. But the spiritual reason that they died was they did not show proper honor and respect to each other. And therefore, during the period of the Omer, we are supposed to think about the deaths of Rabbi Akiva, to rectify in our own lives the lack of not showing kavod to another Jew, and to increase our ability to see the kavod. Now, here is the point I want to share with you from Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch. What does it mean that the students of Rabbi Akiva did not show proper kavod to each other? Were they rude? Did they push each other out of line? Did they call each other names? Surely we can assume that a student of Rabbi Akiva followed what would be the requirements of Jewish law. They followed what would later be in the Shulchan Aruch, especially since Rabbi Akiva himself taught, V'yahavta l'recha kamocha, loving your fellow Jew as you love yourself is a klal gadol b'Torah, is a fundamental principle. So Rav Hirsch makes the point. If you would have seen a video of the students of Rabbi Akiva, you would not have even thought there was a problem. They were polite. They had derech eretz. They followed all of the requisite halachot of bein adam lechaveiro. So what does it mean they did not show kavod for each other? Rav Hirsch explains that the shorish of kavod comes from kaved. Kaved means heavy, weighty, significant. Having kavod for another person does not just mean I'm polite, I observe etiquette. It means I see their value, I see their weightiness, I see their gravitas, I see their significance. I could be polite to a person, but in my heart of hearts, I regard them as a nobody. But I'm a big tzaddik, so I'm nice even to nobodies. Kavod is exactly the opposite. I look at the other person, and I see that they are in the image of God. I see their beauty. I see their worth. I see their value. As Pirkei Avos says, Ezeu Chacham, a truly wise person is lomed mikol adam. I learn from everybody. Because in everybody, I see their worth. I see that they are a reflection of God. So for some reason, and this is still a bit of a mystery, even though we can assume, Rav Hirsch writes, that the students of Rabbi Akiva treated each other with decency, they didn't see the value in each other to the level that they should have. Maybe, perhaps, they were so connected to the great Rabbi Akiva that they didn't need to foster a connection among themselves. So kavod is not about politeness. It's about seeing the significance, the weightiness, the value, the beauty in the other person. So b'kitzor, in summary, if we ask ourselves, what is our avodah, what is our service during the weeks of the Omer? One is to understand that freedom without Torah is meaningless, and therefore our job is to grow in passion, in commitment, in the pursuit of truth, in Torah study. That's aspect number one. Aspect number two is to look at my fellow Jew, and to some degree my fellow human being, and see their value and see their significance. And as a result, rectify the fatal flaw of the students of Rabbi Akiva. And let me emphasize, by the way, one might ask the question, okay, not seeing the kavod in another person, okay, maybe that's not great, but do you deserve to die for that? Do you get the death penalty for that? And I think the answer is, this was not so much of a punishment, but rather, these 24,000 people were supposed to be the Torah leaders of the next generation. They were the teachers, they were the rabbis, they were the scholars. If they would have been lawyers, doctors, accountants, they might have lived. But essentially, you cannot be a teacher of Torah unless you see the inherent value and goodness of the Jew to whom you are trying to impart Torah. And if they did not see that, they had to be replaced. They could not be the transmitters of Torah to the next generation. So this was not a punishment. It was simply the idea that they could not fulfill their task, and therefore others had to take their place. Now, the final thought I want to leave you with is this. On one hand, we have this idea of increasing my passion and my fire and my commitment to Avodas Hashem. And on the other hand, we have to look at others with kindness, with consideration, see their value and see their worth. Unfortunately, in the polarized society that we live in, we often achieve one goal only at the expense of ignoring the other. There is often a tendency that as I get stronger in my mitzvos, more passionate in my Torah, more fiery in my commitments, I will tend to look down and disparage those who are not living up to the standards that I have set for myself. In other words, the greater the passion, the less the kavod you have for others. Vice versa. There are big tent people who are accepting and tolerant, and they see the beauty of everybody. But that's because they may lack a moral compass. They may lack a moral center. I'm okay, you're okay. Abortion on demand, why not? Same-sex marriage, who are we to stop people who love each other? So we live in this paradoxical world where the more passionate and frum I become, the more disparaging I might be of others. The more accepting of others, the less passionate and frum I am in my religious life. Yeshivat Ohr says, this is not a binary choice. This is not an all or nothing. This is not one or the other. Rather, you must become passionate and fiery and committed in your avodas Hashem, in your Torah learning. You must be uncompromising in your attachment to emes, to truth. But at the same time, you must do so with love and tolerance and even respect. I don't mean the tolerance you might have for a dog or for an inferior, but to genuinely see the good in the other. You have to do both. It is not an either-or choice. The emes this is actually a pasuk in Zechariah. The Navi Zechariah, one of the last Nevi'im at the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash, said b'Shem Hashem, ha'emes v'hashalom ehavu. A Jew must love truth, and a Jew must love peace. There is a famous thought from the Kutzker Rebbe, who says, it's easy to love truth if you don't care about peace. I'll stand up for my emes. The fact that I hurt you, the fact that I reject you, doesn't bother me. Emes is the only thing I care about. So it's easy to love truth if you don't care about peace. And by the same token, it is easy to love peace if you don't care about truth. If I don't stand for anything, I get along with everybody. The Navi Zechariah b'Shem Hashem says, a Jew must love truth and a Jew must love peace. These are the two aspects of the counting of the Omer that prepare us for Matan Torah. On one hand, I have to accept the Torah as an individual by purifying myself, by making myself as connected as I can to Torah, mitzvahs, especially the learning of Torah, not to compromise, not to give in to the decadence of society. And at the same time, Matan Torah required unity and love among Am Yisrael. As the pasuk says, Vayichan Sham Yisrael neged Ahor, the Jewish people encamped at Mount Sinai, but Vayichan is a singular verb. And Chazal have a drasha, we have to be ki ish echad uvalev echad, one man, one heart. Very, very hard to be passionate in your Torah and your mitzvahs, and at the same time open and accepting and loving and even respectful of even Jews who are not always living up to those standards. But that is our challenge. That is our job. And one way of looking at it is the passion we have for mitzvahs should also include a passion to v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. I'm passionate about Shabbos. I'm passionate about kashrus. I'm passionate about learning. I'm also passionate about Avas Yisrael. That's part of the passion of what it means to be a Frum Yid. I'm speaking, of course, when we are still engaged in an Eis Tzara, a very difficult time for the Jewish people, a time of war, a time in which we still have hostages who are suffering. We still have chayalim who are putting their lives in dangers. We have families that have suffered bereavements and have suffered injuries. And especially in this time of sakana, we have to be together. We have to emphasize an achdus and a kavod, seeing the good in each other. And in that way, there should be a great, great zechus for Klal Yisrael. May all of us be zocha to come together on Shavuos as we're finishing up Yeshivat Ohr, to stand, as it were, spiritually at the foot of Har Sinai. Ki ish echad u'belev echad. And may we all proclaim, as we did so many years ago, Kol asher diber Hashem, all that God says to us, Nasa, we will do, V'nishma, and we will learn.
Hi, this is Peretz Baruch Eichler, a proud alumnus of Ohr Somayach. Now, what you just watched is one of the many programs that Ohr Somayach provides, leaving its impact on hundreds of thousands, with so many more waiting to be reached. Ohr Somayach's central campus in Jerusalem has over 300 students presently learning there. And now you can be a vital part of spreading that bounty of knowledge worldwide by logging on to donate.ohr.edu. We can step up to the plate at this pivotal moment of Ohr Somayach's growth and bring the next generation of Jews home.